The other week, I saw a guy who was handing out this free book called Was Darwin Wrong? Now, normally I would think, no, Darwin wasn't wrong at all, and I would think nothing more of it. But because this book was being handed out for free, I thought I would give it a read and see what it had to say. This 50-page book is a collection of writings from 5 ex-evolutionists turned creationists. Dr. A.J. Monty White, Dr. Roy Spencer, Professor Arthur E. Wildersmith, Professor David H. Stone, and Professor Gary Parker. Each chapter is an extract from books which examines the relationship between science and religion. All of them are scientific experts in their fields. All of them have been converted to Christianity and or creationism. All of them believe that life did not evolve randomly by chance, but was created by some supernatural agent, most likely by God. These 5 creationists have looked at all the evidence of evolution scientifically, and they've come to the conclusion that the theory of evolution is wrong. And these are the reasons why they've come to that conclusion. Amino acids. The possibility of amino acids reacting in a certain way to create the earliest forms of life by random chance is 0. It's impossible. This is one of the points that Dr. White illustrates by examining Stanley Miller's Origins of Life experiment, which was performed in 1953. Stanley Miller's experiments show that amino acids can be created through a mixture of ammonia, hydrogen, methane, and water vapors which are being passed through an electrical discharge. However, according to Dr. White, these same amino acids would have been destroyed by the very same electrical discharge if they had not been taken out of the apparatus. Also, the conditions created by Miller's experiments did not match what evolutionists believed to be the atmospheric conditions of Earth's earliest history. Thus, there had to be some kind of external intervention to create life. Professor Wildersmith expands on this idea further. He explains that if there is excess water present in the amino acid mixture, then the acids will be kept separated by the excess water and will not combine to form polypeptides, which means that life would not be created. He states that the ocean would be the last place for the proteins of life to be formed. Furthermore, Wildersmith states that there are 20 amino acids which are used to create the building blocks of life. However, Miller's experiments only created a small number of these essential amino acids, which is not enough to create life. Therefore, life could not have been spontaneously created. Life is really complicated. Evolution states that life evolved from simple-celled organisms into the complex plethora of life that you see today. However, scientists are continuously discovering just how complicated life really is. Even the most simplest bacterium is far more complex than the most complicated design created by top scientists and engineers. This is the point that Professor Stone illustrates over and over again. One analogy that's illustrated by this book is the idea of a television set. A TV set is created by various materials: glass, metal, plastic, electronics, etc., etc. It's impossible for these materials to be randomly thrown together to form a television set. You need an external source, i.e. man, to shape and form these materials into a meaningful substance, into a television set. This is what DNA and RNA and proteins are, raw materials that have to be formed together by an external source into a meaningful final product. As for random mutations surviving and thriving, whilst it is true that mutations do occur over generations when specimens are put through certain conditions, as shown in laboratory experiments, these mutations tend to be novel at best and are usually nothing beneficial. In fact, cells are designed to resist mutation and change as much as possible. Some scientific evidence is flaky. There are certain scientific evidence that scientists still fail to provide decent answers for. For example, why is there still gaps in the fossil records that links between species? This field is riddled with hoaxes, forgeries, and misrepresentations, not to mention the inaccuracy of things using radiometric methods of datings of rocks. There have been incidences where the same piece of rock is being given 2 or more different dates. The final argument. Where did all this raw material for creating life come from to begin with? These are the points that this book makes. The format of each of these chapters is along the lines of the story of how the evolutionist converted his ways to become a Christian/creationist, the scientific explanation of why this element of evolution is wrong, and finally, I'm so happy to be a creationist Christian scientist. The amount of information being presented by this book ranges from too vague and lacking any scientific explanation to be of any value to, scientifically speaking, this could not possibly happen because of this, and then that would happen, therefore this is impossible and it's wrong. There are lots of sprinkles of scientists/evolutionists are unable to explain the flaws of evolution, but a creationist is unsurprised throughout the entire book. So, is this 50-page book enough to convert me into a creationist? Well, no. The main reason why not is I don't have enough information from this to conclusively say this is the right answer. This book doesn't contain enough detailed scientific explanations or reference materials for the scientific evidence to be credible to me. There are too few names mentioned in this book to take into account for all the claims it makes, especially names for arguments against creationism. Each time I reread this book, I notice how pro-Christianity it is, and it doesn't even exercise the other possibilities. Hell, I'm sure even other religions of the world have something to say about whether evolution is right or wrong. But the base ideas that this book is offering, the base ideas that creationism is offering, are intriguing. Who knows? Maybe it is all true. I would need to dedicate a lot of time and research into the science behind how life really works. This book could inspire people to go out and do their own research and cross-referencing to get to the actual truth. Even at the end of it, it gives them the opportunity to say, "Ha! I told you so, you're wrong!" I believe in evolution. I believe that life was created by random chance all those millions of years ago. I believe that all life came from single-cell organisms which has evolved through millions of years. If the scientific community provides convincing enough evidence that creationism is actually correct, then I'll change my viewpoints and I'll start believing that. Well, that's the trouble with some scientific theories sometimes. The average person just doesn't know enough. It's the creationist words against the evolutionist words. I mean, they both sound plausible. Who do you believe?